like, so Homer, how do you feel about the screen time given to these women, considering how little you spend with them?
Lupita Nyongo never read that book. She never read the Odyssey. She never read the Iliad. She never read it. She read the lines from the movie script that was handed to her. I believe that she had a copy of those books probably provided for her in her trailer. She never picked it up and scanned one goddamn word of it. Criticizing the Odyssey as a masculine story that focuses too much on the men and somehow sidelines women or female voices, that is the indicator that she never picked that book up and actually read it. Because if you asked classicists to name the Greek epic that gives women the most influence over the story, a lot of them are going to pick the Odyssey. There is an argument that has been floating around for over 130 years, since the 1800s, that the poem itself might even have been written mostly by a woman. Seriously, you can look it up. In, I think it was 1897, a guy named Samuel Butler, he published a book called The Authoress of the Odyssey. He argued that the poem's attention to domestic life and household politics and weaving and marriage and the inner lives of the women was so unusual for that classical period, that it was so unusual that it might have been authored originally by a female. His theory never, became scholarly consensus, but it was taken seriously enough that a guy named Robert Graves later wrote an entire novel called Homer's Daughter about the idea. But whether or not Homer was even a real person, whether it was a conglomeration of people over centuries who were combined into one character, whether this character was primarily female, it really isn't the point. The point is that of all the works in the ancient world to accuse of ignoring women, the Odyssey is probably the worst place you could do that with, especially when you have a new movie coming out. Are you trying to criticize the fundamental story? Are you trying to get me to go see your movie by telling me that it's what? Misogynistic and hates women? I'm sure that'll sell a lot of tickets. But look who actually drives the plot of the Odyssey. Odysseus is not marching from one battlefield to another. For most of the story, he is reacting to decisions that are made by women inside of the story. The goddess Athena is arguably the real strategist of the entire tale, right? She's the one who persuaded Zeus to let Odysseus return home. She's the one who guided Telemachus. She disguised Odysseus. She engineered the reunion with Penelope. At almost every major turning point of that very short book, Athena is pulling all of the strings. Then there's the character Penelope. While Odysseus is gone for 20 years, over 100 suitors descend on the household, convinced that she's eventually going to remarry, right? She doesn't overpower them, she outsmarts them. She famously delays the marriage by weaving a funeral shroud during the day and secretly unraveling it every night. That deception lasts for years before she's finally discovered lying about it. It's one of the most famous acts of all strategic deception in Greek literature. And then when Odysseus washes ashore as a naked, broken, exhausted man, who saves him? Who saves him, Lupita Nyongo? You read the book. Who saves him? It wasn't an army. It was a young woman named Nausicaa. She gave him food and clothing, and then she gave him directions to the Phaeacian court. And when Athena tells him how to ask for help, she doesn't tell him to appeal to the king. She tells him to go straight to Queen Arete. Because everyone knows that if Arete supports him, the king will too. That is like real political deception, political authority, okay? Those are all women. Then there are the women who stop Odysseus completely in his travels. He spends roughly, 7 years trapped by Calypso on that island? He spends another year trapped by Circe. Almost 8 of the 10 years after Troy falls, the greatest Greek hero is not conquering anybody. He's living under the influence of 2 extraordinarily powerful women characters. Even Helen of Troy's brief appearance in that book, as brief as it was, is rather remarkable. She doesn't quietly sit behind her husband while the men all tell stories. She puts an Egyptian drug into everyone's wine to ease their grief, which interrupts the conversation. She takes over the storytelling herself, and she recounts how she alone recognized Odysseus when he entered Troy disguised as a beggar. Everyone who read that book remembers that, right? Remember how Menelaus doesn't even correct her? He lets her tell her story. He doesn't silence her. None of this makes the Odyssey, by the way, like a modern feminist text. 1960s onward, first, second, third, fourth, whatever we're fucking at now, feminist text, right? It is still a product of ancient Greece, okay? And there's a lot of, assumptions and stuff that goes along with that. There are manipulative women. There are faithful women. There are divine women. There are monstrous women. There are queens. There are goddesses. There are witches. There are mothers and daughters. Women are heroic. They are dangerous. Some of them are wise. Some of them are wrong. They're not decorations in the story. They are the story. And how about this? One final little bit of what I would call dramatic irony in this entire thing. We don't even really know who Homer was. Many scholars think all of these epics emerged from centuries of oral tradition before they were ever written down. Whether it was like one poet named Homer, which seems unlikely, several poets, or generations of storytellers refining the tale is still debated. So it's entirely possible to criticize aspects of the Odyssey, sure. I'm not saying you can't criticize that. Every ancient text has ideas that feel foreign to us today because the past is a foreign country. But if you're looking for a Greek epic that ignores women, doesn't give women any screen time, pick the exact wrong one, right? That tale, the Odyssey, has inspired 130 years of debate over whether its author might actually have been a female herself. Lupita Nyongo never read that book, because she never would have opened her mouth during a marketing public relations run for the movie that she is in, hurting its ticket sales by spewing such babble about this book. And this is why I'm not spending any money on it. Not a fucking dime. You ain't getting my money, Christopher Nolan, and you never will. You want to spit in the face of all classical Western civilization and all of Greece, by the way? Fine. Go have your little Elliot Pages and your Lupita Nyongos and slap each other on the back and pay some people to give you a positive review on Rotten Tomatoes, but you're not getting my fucking money. And I didn't even mention all of the female characters in the Odyssey, by the way. There's still more that I didn't even mention. I mean, Charybdis was obviously a woman, right? I mean, it might have been like a big squid monster under the water, but it kind of sounds like a girl I used to date. The Sirens, by the way, who still inspire generations of women to date me and then dash my boat against the rock, those are powerful women.